Hello, it's Nikki. How you doing? How's things? I've got quite a juicy one for you today, and it's 4 parts, so I wanted to break it down in this way so I can tell you each piece of the story and how the process really fitted together. Because I know what the self-development gurus will say out there. They're like, just make the decision. It's a yes or a no. It's a in, it's a you're out. And actually, for most of us, it's much more complex than that. And many of us are not operating in our business and life. Whoa, the light is coming out. Many of us are not operating in our business and life in that kind of reckless, like, yeah, why not way. I know that that's a sexy story on the internet, but most of us, I don't think, are doing that. I think we're much more, especially in these times as well, we are much more discerning. We do our research, we ask questions, and we are much more informed and present as consumers. So as you can see from the title, this is my journey and my process into working with somebody for a year. And I wanted to share this story with you today because I am actively selling my services in terms of my coaching all the time. I go out and I do speaking talks on this. I am actively building my personal brand by having these various streams of income. And so I guess the first point that I want to make today is to show you that I am in the game as well. I am doing this work too. And for me, it's really important that you see this, and you will see it with my running, that I'm doing this each and every day, even in the days when it's absolutely chucking it down. I can't think of anything worse. I just have to like lower my energy levels on that and just get it done. So today's first video is all about the browsing phase. So maybe you are in this phase at the moment where you're noticing that you're online, maybe you're signing up to free webinars or free courses, or you're watching people's content, you're binging their YouTube channel, and you're in that kind of browsing phase. And I was definitely in that. And the reference point that I'm going to be giving you throughout this series is a decision I made in January 2020. And none of it, I should preface this by saying, none of it made sense on a practical level to do something of this level of investment. So I'd had my daughter in August 2019, so she would have been about 5 months. My son had turned 4 in the October, but he wasn't at school yet. He wasn't in nursery full time as well. So, there was a lot of juggle. And then, of course, March 2020 came along to surprise us all. And I was not expecting, none of us were. So in hindsight, I can look at all those pieces of going, how did you do all of that? But I did. And I think what I need to do in this video is to walk through that browsing phase. So the first thing for me that was really notable was I was really paying attention to what was going on. And I think in those early days, certainly those first few months with the baby, I felt like my world was really, really small. And you're just looking at the next feed, or what time do I need to take my son to nursery? Or are we going to go to the park this afternoon? Or are we going to go to soft play? Like, my world was really, really small. And so I had many hours sitting in a chair feeding my daughter, or, pushing her around the block, trying to get her to sleep, really sort of with myself. And I think that parenthood, especially in those early months, really does that. You have to sit with yourself. It doesn't matter what you might want to do, but if that baby's like, no, we're just going to lie together, then that's what that's what you do. So I guess my browsing phase didn't come from being marketed to. It really came from listening to myself and paying attention to what I needed, what was going on, and what was happening. Which leads me to point number 2. I was really paying attention to where I was now and where I wanted to be. And there was something that happened when I had my daughter. I think I'd had a really, not a difficult, as in painful pregnancy. And the birth, I had a planned C-section, which I can go into another time, but I won't use the time for that today. So I had a planned C-section. I knew when she was going to come. And all of that was very bizarrely straightforward. And I recovered quickly and I felt good. And I also felt that when she was born, after I'd had a really long pregnancy, I mean, it didn't feel long, but I had about 50 appointments, essentially. They thought there was lots of other things going on when I was carrying her. So emotionally, it was quite intense. So there was almost this relief when she came out, and we sort of knew her and we knew who she was. And I mean, as much as you can with a baby. And I suddenly had this recognition that I had this boy, my son, and then I had a girl. And there was something about that mother-daughter for me. And I had different things with my son as well. But when I had her, I was like, I became very aware of who I was as a little girl, who I was as a teenager, as a young woman, as a grown woman. And I really began to think about the future, and I don't know, I just got a lot of clarity about things. So I was definitely in this place of fully understanding where I was right now and where I wanted to get to. And the third thing that I was very aware of was that I was ready for an up level. And I think because I'd had that year of sort of pregnancy before, not quite a year, but the postpartum piece as well, I was ready to expand again and I had a bit more capacity essentially, which again seems wild because when I think back to having my son for the first, I would say first 3 years, I just felt like I was in the weeds. I mean, I was so sleep deprived as well. But this time around, I don't know if it was because I'd done it before or the baby that I had, I felt really different and I felt ready for that upgrade. And I've had that feeling so often in my life where it's like, it's go time. And so when I get that kind of switch, it's like a mosquito. It won't leave me alone. Like, what are you going to do? What's happening? And I had to pay attention to it. The fourth thing that happened was I began to really pay attention to who I was drawn to, who I was listening, what selections I was making in terms of podcasts or what books I was reading. Because I think sometimes your body, your instinct will lead that way first and go, no, over here, come and look at this. Come and look at this. This is great. This is really going to help you. And I began to not only trust where I was being led, but really pay attention to it. Like, oh, interesting. This is the sort of thing that I'm in. There's something sparking here. What is it? So I became really clear and aware of what I was seeking. And finally, in that browsing process, I kept asking myself, what am I prepared to do? And I guess the flip side of that is, what was I not prepared to do? I wasn't prepared to go on a retreat and leave my baby for 3 weeks. I needed to find something that was going to help me, that was going to be actionable. But I really paid attention to my own capacity in that place and asked myself to be that person of my word. Like, if you say that you want this, are you going to do the thing? Or are you, or is this, and again, some of the things were like, this is for another day. This is for 6 months' time. This is for 2 years' time. This is not for now. So I paid attention to it all. In part 2, I'm going to go into the pre-sign up and what made me make the decision. Come back for that. Bye.